up your events? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Encaptivating Virtual Events. Woohoo! Woohoo!
Woo! This talk show features conversations that will teach you, yes, I'm talking to you, how to create encaptivating virtual and hybrid events that lead to, yes, connections. I'm Shannon Daniels, founder and CEO of Encaptiv, coming to you with my co-host,
Definitely Zaflan, and I am your virtual events navigator and producer here at Encaptivating Virtual Events. In case you're wondering what the show is all about, well, I guess you have to tune in, right, Shannon? Because, hey, hello, if you want to learn a little bit more about the series, well, we're going to talk about who we will be featuring at our shows. Well, you just have to tune in. When, Shannon?
You got to tune in every Thursday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. That's New York time for those of you who are doing the math. We will be live broadcasting every Thursday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. But what happens if you're unable to make it? If you get caught up? Well, if you are able to make it, you're just going to hop through this door right here and join right in. But if you miss the live broadcast, you can still go through this door. And then what happens if they miss the live broadcast, Zach?
Well, if they miss the live broadcast, folks, wherever you're tuning in, even though if you're tuning on social media, you won't find them, the replays, on social media, but you'll find them here. Boom! Right there, right on your screen, it says bit.ly Encaptivating Virtual Events, and that's where you will be watching all those replays. Well, everybody, we're excited. We're looking forward to see you on our live broadcast. And again, in case you miss it because you have to do a lot of things in life, this is where you catch the replays, and it is bit.ly Encaptivating Virtual Events. Until then, are you excited? Are you excited? Are you excited? Are you excited?
Boom!
Boom! All right, folks, we'll see you. We'll see you on the other side of that door. Until then, bye, 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 everybody. See ya. Boom! Good morning!
Good
Well, today I did bring coffee with me, but I'm not sure how that is needed at the moment because Shannon, you know me, right? Hey, everybody, welcome to the live talk show series and captivating virtual events. I'm your one of your co-hosts here. I'm definitely Zavzan with
Shannon Malkin Daniels, good morning.
just checking to see if you're up or not. Shannon, what is this show all about?
Well, we talk about all kinds of things related to virtual and hybrid events. Boom. And we're
Boom.
sharing tips and tricks and information about how to be successful with your next virtual or hybrid event. And each week we have a different topic. And I'm super excited for our guests and our topic today. Who are they, Zeph?
So
Let
if
us
you're looking
know.
on if you're looking on your screen right now, the topic for today is really about too hybrid or not too hybrid because that's kind of the conversation, the hot conversation going on right now globally. So both our audience, our guests today, I'm gonna put that back up. We have Ken Sien and John Winkel in the house. Whoop 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 whoop. Are you ready, folks? Shall we bring them on? Because we have 4 people today. So we're gonna see if this train is gonna move at my speed, which is probably how many miles an hour, Shannon?
The 1,000-mile-per-hour entrepreneur.
Are you ready?
Coffee,
if you're
folks.
ready, say hello. Drop a hello in the comments. We want to hear where you are tuning in from so we can say a proper hello to you and do a shout out because Anna's in the house. I'm going to put that up. Anna's like, good morning. Good morning. Hey, Anna, good to see you. Good morning. Good to see you. And I just said good morning to everybody. All right, let's bring them out. Ready? 3, 2, 1. One of 2 and the other one is coming on. Here we go. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good morning.
I'm very excited about this conversation today. But before we get started, let's get everyone do a quick 30 seconds intro so our audiences can get to know you a little bit more. Let's start with you, Ken.
All right, thanks. So I'm Ken Sien. I am currently in a position where I'm being hired by another company. I have 28 years of meeting planning experience, so I've worked with the live events. Prior to that, I was with an audiovisual company. So I've got that balance of event planner and the technical aspect. So that's how I ended up landing in the virtual meeting world.
And that's how we both met, right? Because,
Absolutely.
we were both at a conference and I was just chatting in the site chat and actually we were in the same Zoom room and that's how we got to know each other. See, the virtual world is, making our distances much closer. So awesome. Good morning, John. Good to see you. You're up next.
Good morning, everybody. I need whatever Zeph has. That's what I need. I'm sure I'm not the first person to say that. I'm John Winkel. Good morning, everybody. I'm the CEO of the Stanford Partnership. I'm one of the co-founders of Stanford Innovation Week, which is the largest innovation festival in New England. I've done a lot of virtual events. I've done a lot of in-person events. I've done a lot of hybrid events. I've worked with and known Shannon for a long time. I've known Zeph not quite as long, but started to get to know her a little bit recently as well. And I'm super excited to be here and be featured on the show. And hopefully we can talk about some of the do's and don'ts and works and not works for virtual and hybrid. So excited.
I'm excited because, I just met John last night in person. So this is going to be a beautiful integration of conversation about virtual and hybrid. So folks, again, if you're just tuning in, this is the topic of our conversation today. To hybrid or not to hybrid? That's the question. What is it? So Shan, let's start this conversation. What is a hybrid event? Let's take about a minute to go around the room. Your take on what is a hybrid event. Let's start with John because John's ended last, so we'll just have him jump in right here.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to agree what is a hybrid event, and we may all not even agree on that, but that's kind of the point of having the conversation. I mean, to me, most basic level, it's having something in person and basically streaming it, possibly recording it and playing it after. But I sort of like the live version, like we're all here live today. And I think some of the key points or key ideas with that are bring the energy, which we have plenty of that here today, and make it feel like you're in the room with people, right? Like
Absolutely.
you're actually literally joining me in my living room today. As a matter of fact, you could probably see my other side kids' kitchen back there. There it is. Yeah, it's on a mirror, so it's a little. But to me, that's really it, and it's. We're in a really interesting time in the world and in history, where we're going to start to come back to normal. Won't be what normal was before. And
we have a new normal.
New
Yeah.
normal. New and
That word everybody loves now.
Yes,
Those
the new
two words,
normal.
The new normal.
I'm going to call it the new abnormal because it's going to be weird up first. But I'm excited. I think audiences are going to have different expectations. We did our first live event last night. Shannon was there. We could talk about that too, which we recorded. We're going to stream afterwards. That's enough from me. Let's hear from Ken. But just some initial thoughts on hybrid and virtual.
Yeah, and that was a quick little snapshot of Zeth and I at the live event last night before it happened. Sorry, Ken.
No, you're fine. You're fine. No, I mean, I totally agree with what John said. The one thing though that's interesting that I've been hearing is that the term hybrid may go away. And what that looks like, I don't know. One of my former colleagues from my previous employer had talked about the fact that maybe in another 6 months to a year, we may have a different term for it. So everybody's trying to still define what does that look like. What I'm very excited about is that now there's an opportunity to reach people that would have never attended your live event. So now you're able to have a further reach out to, if it's an association, your membership. If it's corporations, then you can reach more employees that you would never could afford to bring to your live meetings. Because of an expense standpoint. So for me, I see a lot of great opportunities. I see an opportunity to generate revenue as well, which
absolutely.
To me is very, very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree. I'm going to echo that. I agree with both of you and what you're saying about hybrid events. And for me, I'm just going to add another layer. When we think of hybrid from our perspective here at Encaptiv and in my mind here as a communication nerd, is bringing two audiences that aren't physically together. And that's how I think of hybrid. So it's like you have this live in-person audience that's here and they're sitting in the room, they're listening to the speakers, they're bouncing around, they're going and seeing exhibitors. And then over here, you've got your folks at home who are joining from behind their screens. And so I think when I look at hybrid, I see a really successful hybrid model as one that pulls those two audiences together, makes the virtual audience feel recognized and like they're more there, and gives them an opportunity to network with the people in person and vice versa. So really pulling them together in a way that's very powerful.
So it's funny that I have to share this, right? Because it's funny that I hear so many people, right? Not so many people right now. The hot topic literally everywhere in the world is pretty much, oh, should we go hybrid? And I'm like, I think I'm probably the godmother of hybrid events. I remember that because I started in the world of in-person networking. And I remember that time I was like, okay, I understand everyone's busy and I understand that we have a life to juggle. And I saw the value of like, what if, because I had a challenge of putting butts in the seats, right? Because when we do events, we're trying to figure out how do we drive traffic, how to get people to the events. So I did this, I think bi-weekly events, if not at the minimum was once a month. And I was like, okay, I need more people. Even though people really enjoyed the events that I hosted, people were having a challenge, just because it's a networking event. So I said, let me see if there's a technology or there's a way that I can get people, even if they're on their toilet seat, tuning in into the content and value that me and my tribe can bring. So that's when, back in those days, way before all the Zoom meetings that we have, there was a technology called Google Hangouts on Air. So I played around with it and I saw the value because I think at that time I was just inspired by this crazy reality TV shows, right? right? And I said, okay, if they're making money, I think I could probably get inspired by that and see how I can bring my audiences to my events by tuning in, by not leaving their space, but still like invite them into my space. And that's when I started, live streaming, broadcasting. And of course, after that, I think a year or two, and Anna, who's actually in the chat right now, she's part of this social live streaming community, and we started this community where people tune into whatever value that we had to share on their phones. They could be, like I said, on their toilet seats, and and tune in. And that's my inspiration for
We've
my
actually
hybrid
seen
events.
that, Zeph. We've seen
Yes,
the
and I want to
video
show
of the
you.
woman on the toilet seat during the Zoom. That poor woman.
It's kind of scary at times, but yeah, that's a different conversation for a different day, because I know it's pop up in our conversation. But I think it has been like that for a while. It's just that people are realizing post or during pandemic that there must be a different way where we can bring our viewers or our event attendees into our space. So that's basically where I think everyone is right now. Ken can kind of attest to this, right? Ken, you've been in the AV space for a while. It's not new. It's just people are thinking more about it with the events.
Well,
Absolutely.
in the pandemic, I think forced us into that a bit, right? Forced the whole industry into thinking about it differently, whereas they were a little resistant to the virtual components prior.
Yep. Absolutely. So I just want to say to all of you out there, hybrid is not new. It's just in the space of the events world. I think people are just taking on it more seriously, because they understand how they can bring the other attendees or viewers into the space of their event easily with technology. And I'm just going to, if you don't mind, I just want to share something that I've been doing. This was a pilot show that I did in someone's kitchen. And I didn't even know this was something like a hybrid event. That was one of my experiences. This is 2017. Let me just mute that. This was a cooking show. I just thought, hey, it'll be kind of cool to just check out what the setup was. And this was produced 100% on mobile devices. And then I remember in 2016, you could see me right there by the screen producing a hybrid event. I didn't even know what that meant at that time, but I said this was the the third annual capital market for ASEAN financial market. And I did that. And I was like, oh, that's what a hybrid event is. So we're talking about it in 2021 when I already did this in 2016. So it's not new, folks. It's just, I think we're thinking more about it right now for the attendee experience. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that one of the things that was a concern for a lot of event professionals is that virtual component was going to cannibalize their live event. And that's just not true. And I think, I think most event professionals have accepted that now, which is great. It's now taking that step of how are you going to do it? Because I don't know about you, but I'm still hearing some people that are saying, once we go back to our live events, I'm never going to do virtual again. And I think that's just, it's a mistake.
Yeah.
Really do.
I agree.
Yeah.
I so agree. So I guess that will bring it into the next question. How is planning for a hybrid event different than an in-person or virtual event? And John, you mentioned about this just now. And I think my question to you is, how have you, in your planning for the hybrid event, right? Because in person and then you transition into hybrid, what has that experience been for you? Because there's a lot of logistics when you plan for a hybrid event.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's, you have to pick your platform, you have to prepare your team, you need all integrated marketing. And I mean, it is a complicated process to pull it off flawlessly. So kudos to this team, by the way, for this broadcast. It looks great. Nice and smooth. And so, it's very challenging. I think there's like two ways to do hybrid. You can mix in person and streamed live events alongside each other in a cadence, or you can do hybrid events in person with a live stream or a recording, and that's the first kind of distinction. I know, like, the first way I describe it really isn't true hybrid, but like Ken said, we don't know what it's going to look like on the other side of this. So we're we're experimenting with multiple different modals for delivery for content and capture as well. And so it's, I don't have a clear process. I'll say, we are in the experimentation phase along with everybody else, in figuring out, what this needs to look like to create compelling experiences on the other side. So, that's like point number one for us. Point number two, I think, is that, we need to get constant audience feedback. And if surveys and focus groups and, there's a million ways to do it. Sometimes we just do paper forms. It's actually the easiest way to do it because people actually believe you that it's anonymous when you do it that way. And trying to just get, how many events per month do you want? What kind of delivery method do you want? And just trying to make it engaging that way as well. So, just the first couple initial thoughts on the planning and the process. And it's like all things, it's easier when you have, a great team and, you sort of fail fast and you accept that there'll be challenges. That's really key when we're going back to in-person events more so than ever before. So those are my sort of initial ideas on planning and execution.
I love that you just shared that. That's something I wanted to bring up, and I will go to Ken and and Shannon. So a big part of hybrid event is really having two teams going on at the same time. And a big part of that team is going to be your AV team. I'm going to let Ken share that because, AV, not necessarily my favorite subject, but I could always learn from somebody like Ken. But I'm going to tell you, and behind the scenes today, Ken mentioned something, and I think it's so valuable to share with everyone out there. It's got something to do with audio quality. So I'm going to let Ken share this.
Yeah, I think, what you have here when you're virtual, it's the video and the audio components are the only things that you have to touch people. And if those things aren't accurate, guess what's going to happen? Let's say you're presenting to me and something goes wrong with the sound. I'm going to lose interest, and then I'm going to be over here.
We're going to be squirrel-minded, like, hey,
me. So those things are just vital. And what was interesting, I was working in the live events when the pandemic hit. So all my customers were clamoring, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And what they realized was the AV component, whether it's an AV company or a production company or both, those were key to creating that experience that the attendees are looking for. So that to me is vital. You got to have the sound accuracy or the sound quality there, and the video's got to be sharp.
I love that you mentioned that. So I'm going to put something that Anna put on before I go to Shannon. And Anna has been a big supporter in our social live streaming circle. So she says ignoring virtual is a big mistake. Huge. Think Pretty Woman. I love that. Exactly. And she says AV tech support is valuable prices. And I think this goes into, the audio is king, yet visuals are so important. Zef's live streams are so pretty. You want to watch on YouTube. Oh, thanks,
Anna. And I will get along very well.
There you go. Absolutely. Before I go to you, Shannon, let's do a quick intermission, and we'll be right back in 30 seconds, folks.
Explore and discover with us why virtual events are becoming more essential to what you do and how you connect with the audience. How to choose the right type of virtual event for you. What kind of tools and resources are needed to produce your virtual event? How to pick the right virtual event service providers. How to monetize and profit from your virtual event. For more exclusive content, resources, and opportunities regarding virtual events, join our online community.
Boom! Welcome back, folks. You are tuning into Encaptivating Virtual Events, and today's conversation is too hybrid or not too hybrid. That's the question. What is it? So, Shannon, let me ask you this. Before we left for the intermission, we did, touch on the point of the planning part of the hybrid event. What's your take on it?
Yeah, and we tend to be either we can be very hands-on with our clients or very hands-off. It depends on the client, what their needs are. And some of the ones that are have done hybrid events, we've been very hands-on with. And one of the things that we've seen as a habit of not only working with our clients, but also being involved in planning myself, planning other people's events, working with John and everybody on Stanford Innovation Week, is that it's really like planning two different events, right? You have your in-person event that you have to plan for, and there's the components there. And then you have your virtual event and the components there. And the hybrid events that I've seen be most successful are the ones that think about it in this way, is think about it not as just, we're going to slap one agenda together and throw it out there, and the virtual people just hop on and get what they get. They really do truly think about their virtual audience and what that experience is going to be like, and how they can elevate that experience for their virtual audience, because a lot of time it gets spent focused on the in-person audience and what that experience is going to be. So figuring out A, how you cater to that in-person audience as well as your virtual audience, but then B, adding a complication layer is once you plan for these two things, then how do you bring these audiences together? What's places and ways that you can have them connect via this event experience while still having their own unique and exciting experiences? And there can be a lot of challenges there. And so I would love to throw this into our next question, which is, what are some of the biggest challenges you guys have seen, John and Ken, in planning and executing hybrid events? So Ken, why don't you, or John, you go first then. Go ahead.
How much time do you have left? I mean,
he's like, I can't compress this. What are you talking about? Do we have the whole day?
Should we do a whole new episode?
It's like a cartoon when they ask
yes.
and they hit the list and the paper rolls like all the way down the street. I mean, look, it's not easy. And events professionals and venues and everybody who works, in hospitality and events, I have infinite admiration. I think we all sort of recognize it's not easy. And so, I'm not gonna say, oh yeah, there's just a couple challenges and it's, no, there's pretty much everything is a challenge when, you're doing, hybrid, or you're just doing events, in a pandemic or in a post-pandemic world. I mean, some of the greatest challenges are, balancing your global and local concerns simultaneously. And so, you can engage a global audience, but what does that mean? What are your KPIs? What are your goals? How does that change, what you're doing and why you're doing it and what you hope to get from it? And so there's this very existential, strategic, early consideration for, okay, a global audience might be great, but how do we translate that? And how do we serve that? What about multi-languages? What about, translators? What about closed caption? There's a million things that you can do and that you need to consider. And I think I guess my one piece of clear advice is don't bite off too much too soon, because that's how you get in trouble. So, doing an event with a target of 40 to 50 people max, if you're going to try something new, is to me, I found to be the right number, because then you don't have too much marketing stress. You don't have too much production stress. You can sort of learn what works and what doesn't work. And then you can scale from that sort of early success and eliminate some of those early challenges you have. It's, other sort of challenges, and Ken will go on this much more significantly, on the AV and technology side, we've actually thought about this, shipping camera and audio equipment to guests to have them get set up and then they ship it back. And that's, we've gotten literally to that point. And we've done that, and that's work. So, it's how much time should guests get in this world? It's not an hour anymore. No one has the attention span for that. How much breaks do you need? More than ever before, because people are multitasking all the time. So, there's just there's all this whole world. And I would just say make a list of all the challenges you think you might face. It'd probably be like 100. Ask your friends
more.
in the events industry, or 500. Ask your friends in the events industry to add to the list, right? And you might end up with a whole bunch of prospective challenges, and then you can sort of plan and prioritize accordingly once you have that list. So, no shortage of things to think about on that question.
Great
Anna
advice.
says, yes, Anna says, yes, John is so right. And I think, I always joke about this, and I have friends who laugh at me when I say this. I want to tell you this. That's truth in what I'm saying right now, which is do it enough time, even if you have to throw up, vomit, whatever your verb is, right? Do it enough time that you get to a place where you are comfortable doing it daily. So I'm going to go to Ken, because I know a lot of this has to do with AV, and this is Ken's space right here.
Yeah, well, and I'll actually, because most of my experience is actually on the live meeting side of things. And one of the mistakes that I saw a lot of my customers when I was in the live meeting industry was that they were going to take the live component that they had to cancel and cram it into a virtual experience. And the analogy I always use is this: if I were to take you on a virtual tour of Rome and then take you to Rome a week later, would those two experiences be the same? Absolutely not. Mm-hmm. And I love the fact that you point out that they are different. Now, there can be some crossovers when it comes to like content. You're sitting in a session, whether you're live or you're virtual, you can participate in polls, you can chat, you can view the slide content and the presentation itself. But hey, if I'm live, I'm not going to jump on my phone and talk to you virtually. Exactly. I'm going to meet with the people there. I can talk to you next week. The same thing is people make the mistake of thinking that everybody that's virtual wants the networking component. There are a lot of people, all they want is the content. That's it. Yep.
And I remember in the first series of the We Do Virtual Events live talk show, where the theme was reimagining. So one of our speakers from Canada, Mark Gordon, if you're actually watching, shout out to you, because I love this that he shared on the show. He said, he as a speaker / presenter doesn't necessarily like the hybrid format, because as a presenter he feels squirrel-minded. Do I talk there? Do I talk to the people? Because he wants to bring that experience. So I think, in all that sense of bringing that or creating that experience, we actually, as event producers, event tech people, need to kind of think about that also, right? Are you going to let the people in the audience in the room with you put headphones, which I kind of, I had a conversation with Ken this morning, headphones, or do they just tune in? How, there's a lot of moving parts in producing and bringing together the AV components. So don't take it lightly. And Ken, you mentioned something that we as in Shannon and I mentioned, or in one of our previous episodes. Remember this, Shannon? We started with this. Actually, there's a difference between virtual meeting and also virtual events. Yes. Absolutely, Ken. When you said, don't feel like because the meeting didn't happen in a certain way, you just feel like it's going to be an event. You don't prep, you don't do anything, you just show up. It doesn't happen like that. So that's a big point that you just shared. And I think you audiences out there, pay attention, because it's true. Shannon, anything to add to that?
No, I mean, I think I would just be reiterating everything that everyone's already said with this. I think there's tons of challenges associated with hybrid. It's about knowing that going in, pre-planning, being as prepared as possible, talking about some of the things we've talked about on past shows, Zeph, with having your speakers be prepared and come on and do tech checks and all of that ahead of time, as well as figuring out how you're going to unite those audiences. And then also just planning for the unexpected, so that you're like, when something does pop up, you're ready. You're not going to go into panic mode. You will be prepared to take it on. And that said, I know we're wrapping the show, but I want to leave us with a positive thought here. We've talked a bit about the challenges and what hybrid means, but I would love to throw it back to our guests and you as well, Zeph, to hear, what are some of the biggest benefits you see of hybrid, or whatever this is going to be called in the future, probably just events in the future. So what are some of the greatest benefits you're seeing coming out of doing events in this hybrid nature?
So John, have at it. I know you've got some great advice.
I'll take it. The biggest benefit, I think, is outside of any one of our individual worlds. It's that, technology has accelerated incredibly in the virtual event space. So, we're here in a platform today. I haven't used it yet, called StreamYard. I think it's excellent. We've used Bizabo, we've used Encaptiv extensively. We've used a couple other ones. It's Big Marker was one I was struggling to remember. We've seen the technology take a generational leap forward, right? And you have now platforms like Encaptiv. I don't mean to tilt too much here on the show, but there has been a generational evolution in hybrid and virtual event technology that was very much needed, right? Because if you look at what we have today and what we had 2 years ago, we just didn't have the tools. And now everything is integrated. Like, you can put your phone on a tripod, and you can make an awesome event. Ken, don't kill me, Ken, for saying that. But,
no, you're fine.
Ken's like, no, you can't. You definitely can't do that. Actually,
he was quick to say that, folks.
But you can at least get the video on there, and then you need to think about the audio. But there's the process to produce graphics and I think be a little more nimble and agile in virtual events. 2019, 2018, events were pretty much templatized. As far as you go, you have speakers, you have panels, you have a keynote, you have a lunch, you have sponsor remarks. We all know the blueprints. So I think you're going to be able to get, if as a consumer, you can say, okay, I want to go to a live in-person event today. I want to go to a hybrid event tomorrow. I want to go to a huge global conference live. I want to go to a huge global conference virtual. And so, the optionality for the consumer is great. And that allows you as the producer to be a little more targeted and creative as well. So that's another one I could go for a while, but that's a few early thoughts. It enables a lot. It accelerates a lot. I'm really excited about it. And I'll pass.
Boom.
Boom.
Boom. Mic drop.
Mike, pass first.
All right.
All right. So two things I'm going to share. First of all, for event organizers, you can't be afraid to go after the hybrid component. To me, it's vital. It's an opportunity for you, especially for your association planners. It's an opportunity because you only get 5 to 10% of your members attending your live event. You now have an opportunity to serve the other 90 to 95%, which can benefit your organization. That to me is huge. The other thing is this: event organizers are notorious because they are considered to have one of the most stressful jobs because they're trying to make everything perfect and they're trying to appease everybody. When it comes to the hybrid component, you need to get the rest of your team involved. That's your marketing department, your membership department, even your finance department, operations. They all need to be at the table. Stop trying to do this on your own.
Shannon, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think there's lots of benefits. They've both hit on a number of them, but also the fact that, again, like John said, you can globalize your audience, you can expand. As Ken said, you can reach your membership further than the people that normally wouldn't be able to travel. There were people that didn't want to travel before or couldn't afford to travel, but they can afford a less expensive virtual ticket that gives them the experience, gives them access to your brand. But another great benefit of doing this hybrid component, adding this virtual component to your live in-person conferences and events, is all of the data and analytics that comes with it. But
Well
in addition, with the right technology, you can engage your audience before, during, and after the event. It doesn't just end when they leave that conference center. You can keep that engagement going. You can turn it into a series and roll it out from there. And so there are a lot of opportunities, and we could do a whole show on that as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I'm going to take one word from what you just shared there, Shannon. And I know we're at the end, but there's so much to share. We have got great guests here. But I'm going to wrap up in this, right? So, something that I learned when I started live streaming very, very early on, there was a technology. I don't know if any one of you folks out there or even our guests have heard of it. It's called Periscope, right? So I went to the Periscope first ever convention in New York City. So we went there and there was talk about this gentleman. His name is Euro Maestro. He actually is from Europe. And all he does when he goes on his phone to live stream on Periscope, so this was some sort of an event experience, was he'll just walk the streets of Europe and he'll just talk and talk and talk. We all like, who is this Euro Maestro guy? So in person, we met him in person. We were like, you're Euro Maestro. The story he shared from stage was the fact that there was Dubai, United Arab Emirates, Dubai. Basically, the tourism ministry was very interested in this concept of like, let's just take your camera, walk around, talk about the places. I want to leave you all with this. If you're in the tourism and hospitality or any kind of industry that you feel like, I don't know how hybrid events will actually play in my space, well, think about this. Think about somebody just taking a phone, walk through, if they're traveling, just like you said, Shanna. If we can't travel, well, you have the phone, you have this technology where you can just stream out and talk about the locations. Ain't that cool? And bring your audience in, because your audience want to be a part of whatever event you call it. They want to engage, right? And that's the reason why most people right now, we all are here. So think about that experience. It's about getting them to have that experience on the journey with you. All right, that's all I have to share, but I just want to say thank you to our guests for being here. But to all of you folks out there, if you want to watch the replays of our show, catch it right here, bit.ly Encaptivating Virtual Events. And what that will bring you, will bring you to our platform where we actually house all the shows. And you would go to the agenda and you can watch all our episodes on replay. Whoop, whoop. And this is Encaptiv's platform and that we use for all our replays. So be sure to check it out. That's the website link, or bit.ly Encaptivating Virtual Events. And if you want our event tech and production guide, just say yes in the comments or go to that website right there, that's stickering down there, and get your copy of our event tech and production guide. To both our guests, I just want to say thank you so much for being here today. And to all of you who are tuning in, thank you for joining us today. Whoop, whoop. I'm so excited. Be sure, we're going to drop this into the comments in the LinkedIn stream. Be sure to connect with John Winkel and Ken Sien on LinkedIn. And if you want to have a conversation with them, connect with them, send a private chat. And until then, folks, this has been an episode of Encaptivating Virtual Events. Until next time, we'll see you again. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.